Hello, Malcolm here. Welcome to Quiet Time Coaching, episode 409, and today's title, A Resurrection Reflection, The Gentleness of Jesus. Now, this comes from my preparation for the lessons for the Easter weekend just gone, which has given me a greater appreciation for the gentleness of Jesus. Take the passage in John chapter 20. Mary is at the tomb. She meets two angels. She's very upset. She's crying. And then she turns around and sees Jesus standing there, but she doesn't realize it's him. And he asks, "Woman, why are you crying? Who is it you're looking for?" She thinks he's the gardener and asks him for some help. And then he says to her, "Mary." She turned toward him, which means she's not even looking at him. Her face is downcast. She's crying. But she cries out here in Aramaic, Rabboni, which means teacher. She recognizes him. And then Jesus says, "Don't hold on to me. Go to my brothers and tell them some news." She goes and does that. Some things here about Jesus that strike me is, first of all, he noticed her emotional state. Do you think Jesus is interested in your emotional state? Do you think he even notices? She's crying. She's not seeing straight in every literal and metaphorical sense. She's not even looking at him. But he notices that emotional state. Secondly, he refrains from any accusation. I mean, he could have accused her of all kinds of things, including being a bit slow to understand about his resurrection. She followed him, right? This is Mary who followed him for several years, effectively as a disciple. But he doesn't accuse her of a lack of faith. He asks questions. There's no negative comment. And then there's a commission. And thirdly, he connects with her on a personal level. Reminds me of John chapter 10, verse 3, where it says, he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. He knows her name. He uses her name. He knows your name. These are beautiful and gentle things in Jesus, noticing her emotional state, refraining from accusation, and connecting personally. It reminds me of that beautiful song, "He Knows My Name." Perhaps you've heard it. I have a maker, he formed my heart. Before even time began, my life was in his hand. And the chorus, he knows my name. He knows my every thought. He sees each tear that falls and hears me when I call. You might like to check out the version of the song by Don Moen. I've put the link in the show notes, but it's a lovely song by Tommy Walker. Perhaps it was written with this passage in mind. So what does this mean for us? Well, let's talk a little bit first about what it means for the way we treat other people, because there are some applications there, although this is a podcast mostly about our devotional relationship with God. But when we're with other people, and perhaps we need to have a little bit of a confrontation with them. Not all confrontations are negative. In a sense, this encounter between Jesus and Mary is a confrontation, but it's a beautiful and gentle one, isn't it? So the first thing to do if you're going into a challenging conversation is to pause, to breathe, and to take into account the emotional state of the person you are with. Secondly, to approach that difficult situation and that person with compassion for them. And thirdly, to make a personal connection before diving into the issues. Let's talk as brothers and sisters in Christ, as friends, before we get into the challenging issues perhaps we need to talk about. I wonder if gentleness is underrated. Jesus is gentle, isn't he? He's more than only gentle, but he is definitely gentle. And he has a fullness of gentleness which is inspiring and attracts people to him. Remember in Matthew 21 how he entered Jerusalem? The king comes riding on a donkey. How does he ride on the donkey? Gentle. Gentle and riding on a donkey. And what do we know about the fruit of the Spirit? In Galatians 5:22 and 23, it comprises of love and joy and peace and forbearance and kindness and goodness and faithfulness and gentleness. If it's a fruit of the Spirit, it's part of who Christ is. And as Paul says, against such things there is no law. Indeed, rather than there being a law against it, is something we want to inhabit, inculcate. We want to express it. We want to grow in gentleness. Helmut Theolic, if I'm pronouncing his name right, says in his little book, a little exercise for young theologians, truth is not power, it is privilege. Handle it with gentleness and compassion. Jesus was full of truth, but how did he handle his truth? With gentleness, especially coming to meet Mary in that situation. He could have just told her lots of truth and corrected her and perhaps even rebuked her. We don't know, but nonetheless, he takes the opportunity to demonstrate a loving gentleness in the truth that he's bringing to the situation. He is risen. He has a commission for her, and there's more to be done. When you approach Jesus in your devotional times, when you approach God as Father, do you understand how gentle they are with you? Do you delight in that gentleness? Are you grateful for that gentleness? Can you trust in that gentleness? Surely as we grow in our relationship with God, we can learn to trust his gentleness as much as any of his other wonderful qualities. What do you think about this topic today? Have you got any comments? Please leave a comment on this topic and leave it publicly where other people can see it, because we learn best when we're learning in community. And if you have any questions about this, drop me a line, malcolm@malcolmcox.org, or you can find me on the website, which is malcolmcox.org. And if you'd like a copy of my free ebook on spiritual disciplines called How God Grows His People, then just sign up for my lovely newsletter at the website, and you'll get one of those a week, and perhaps even more. If you know anybody that might benefit, please pass the link on, subscribe, and leave a review. And I do hope that as you reflect upon the message of the resurrection, you'll not only reflect on the power of the new life, which is so true and wonderful and amazing, but also on the gentleness of Jesus. Until the next time, take care and God bless.